Okay, I just started recording.
Okay.
So welcome everyone to the first call for our 14-day detox group. This is a pretty small group. I was just telling my friend Whitney, she's on the call, but she may be the only one on the call just because times and stuff, if it's a small group, not everyone can come. But I will always record every call, and I'll always have notes too. So if you miss it or you don't have time to watch the video, don't worry about it. Luckily, too, I was looking at the guidebook today that you all got in your box, and the guidebook's quite good. So I didn't have to supplement the guidebook very much, but I do have a few points I want to cover today. So we're getting ready to do the detox. You can start Sunday or Monday. I mean, you kind of start wherever you want, but I think it might be nice to buy groceries on the weekend, maybe make one shake just to test it out if you want. And then start Monday, but it's flexible. So yeah, let's see. So there's just a few I know what I was going to say. Since we're just getting started, I'm going to focus today on that, how you're going to start this, what you're going to do, what your first few days might be like, because our next call, you'll be a few days into it. So I want you to kind of know what to expect. So Whitney, I'm just going to kind of rattle off here, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to jump in. I'm going to share my screen so you can see.
I'm opening my box and pulling out my book so I can follow along.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, we're going to look through the book a little bit. And just taking 20 minutes at night to read the book, carefully, will save you stress down the road, right? Just being more prepared will definitely save you to stress. Okay, I'm trying to share my desktop, but I don't want to share my Amazon cart. Nice to see. Can you see my
yeah, I see document? It says okay. 14 days.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to be sending this out after the call as well. So, and I probably just put everything on one big document so you don't have to be looking for all different documents. So the booklet will tell you what to eat and not eat, basically. And it's a kind of a paleo template. So they're taking out some foods that supposedly our paleo ancestors might not have eaten, like farmed foods like grains and beans. They have left in here nuts, which are things that could be harvested. In some special diets, they do leave out nuts because people can develop food sensitivities to nuts, but they have nuts in here, which is good. It makes it, more diverse for you. You can have all kinds of meat and, according to them, eggs. I would suggest that if you want to use this cleanse as a food sensitivity test, to take out eggs, because they're one of the top 7 common allergens. And I actually found out I was sensitive to eggs on a cleanse. So I think they might be worth taking out, but you can still have all kinds of meat and vegetables and seeds and oils and fruit. They do kind of recommend more of the low glycemic fruits, and those are listed in here. You can have, different teas. I did want to point out that they encourage on page 7 that you drink at least a cup of vegetable broth every day. So I thought that was interesting, and just kind of make sure you note that and make the broth, and they encourage you to make it every 3 days. And that might, in the beginning, if you're feeling hungry, help you feel full. So the template in the booklet is that you have a shake in the morning, have a lunch of your choice, and then have a shake for dinner. And then they say you have as many snacks as you want. So they do also say in the book, if you want to switch that around, say you have a shake for breakfast and lunch and a normal dinner, you can do that too. I like the idea of the lunchtime as your meal, because if you're going into the office, you can bring your salad and whatever you like. Or if or you're at home, you can make a lunch. You digest a lunch easier than a dinner. It's really kind of more ideal for digestion. But if you want to switch it, you can. Here's my big caveat from the book. You also don't have to eat this little. So I have a couple of recipes in here for a more robust shake than theirs. They're just telling you to mix the powder with milk or water. So that's, not the most exciting shake in the world. So I've given you a couple recipes to make it more interesting, and I'm going to be adding some more. So yeah, just take it with like a bit of a grain of salt. Like there's some things that I think you absolutely have to follow from this booklet. You should not be having coffee or alcohol or sugar or processed foods, that kind of a thing. But if you want a heartier shake, or you just feel like you're too hungry to not eat a dinner, have a little dinner. I would give it a few adjustment days, the first few days of the cleanse, to let your calories come down slowly. So if you're normally like having a little snack of this and that or in the day, or sometimes overeating, and then you go to 2 shakes and a salad, it's going to be a bit shocking. So I would suggest those first few days, reduce your snacking, reduce your calories, add in the shakes, but don't go crazy. And if after a few days you're feeling good and you want to kind of go deeper, then, maybe remove some more snacks or that kind of a thing. Whitney, is this making sense so far?
Sorry, I muted you. Yes, it makes total sense. I'm writing everything down.
Okay, awesome. Good. Okay. I mean, if this is too confusing, you can follow the book by the letter, but I'm just kind of giving my suggestions based on some experience. Yeah. So on that note, I've led, I don't know, maybe 5 different group cleanses. And I know it's like a little intimidating at first because you've got to give things up and like buy all these things, and it's a lot. And the first few days you can feel tired or you can feel headache, but every time everybody leaves the cleanse happy. They feel lighter, they feel more energy. I'm never going back to coffee. It's always flips. So just, be aware that like it might be a little bit of an adjustment the first few days, and learning how to do everything, or you don't like the shake or whatever, but you'll get better at it and you'll get results. People would often like re-sign up for our cleanses, or buy it to do on their own. I picked this one because it's a little shorter. Most of the ones that I've run are 3 to 4 weeks, and then you get into some other issues with boredom and people getting sick of the same recipes and food, people having to go to events. So I really like this one because it's short and it's manageable. There's no reason to cheat for only 2 weeks. And then if you want to extend it, you can. So I mentioned in this document, let me show you guys here. For food sensitivities, if you want to use this as a food sensitivity kind of test, I would go, longer than 2 weeks for some of these foods. So 2 weeks isn't going to totally reveal to you like a inflammatory reaction. It might, but if you don't have dairy for 2 weeks and then you have it, it may seem kind of okay. But if you don't have it for 4 weeks and then you have it, it's going to be more obvious, your body's reaction. So this is kind of up to you. This wasn't billed as a food sensitivity cleanse. But if you decide you want to use it that way, then I would consider taking at least some of the foods and waiting on them a little longer. Probably if I had to pick 2, I pick on dairy, gluten, and then maybe egg also, because it'll give you a little longer. And then I write down in here that, give it, like if you're going to add stuff back in, maybe you add like a type of bean, and then you wait a few days and then you add rice, and then you kind of go, ideally you go slowly and you wait for reactions. Do you feel bloated, headachy? Is your skin breaking out? Anything like that? It's not easy to do this completely systematically, but even if you kind of half do it, you can still often see reactions. So it's worthwhile, I think, to do. And not all your reactions are forever. Sometimes it's just because your gut isn't very healthy that you react to certain foods. So that's something we can talk about. So I'd love for everyone in the group to do a little private consult, maybe at the end, to just kind of talk about what happens next or what you notice, that kind of a thing. So great. A few more notes here. I put this in the welcome email, but the 2 things I see on the cleanse that are hard for people is headaches and constipation. And it's really usually just the first few days when we get off of sugar and caffeine. Mostly it's the caffeine that if you use caffeine to have a bowel movement every morning or once a day or whatever, and then you don't have it, your body doesn't know how to do it on its own. So I have some suggestions on here. If it's just not happening, go to the Whole Foods or whatever and get a tea that will help move your bowels, something gentle. But first try all these other things, walking, massaging your stomach. You can do a castor oil pack, but try to get them moving on your own if you can. And if you absolutely, can't, use like a tea or something to get you moving. And again, your body, once it's like, okay, she's not having caffeine, it'll start to move again. It'll start to get better. And then the headaches, so caffeine creates like a vasodilation. So when you don't have it and your body's used to it, there can be some like vasoconstriction. You can feel this tightness in your head. And that's, just your body adjusting to something, an input that's no longer there. So that's why I asked you this week to cut down on caffeine. And then, hopefully you'll be ready to go on Monday and do okay. If it's super bad, you can have a few sips of organic coffee. That's like worst case scenario. Before you do that, rest, drink water, get a massage, do what you need to do. And only if you're like, I can't even go to work, I have such a bad headache or something, have a few sips of coffee just again to like, that's what the body's waiting for because it's used to it. Just have a few sips to like move on. So I learned this tip some years back when I first started doing this, and the company I was doing it with then was like, I'm like, everyone's having a headache, they're freaking out. And she said, okay, they can have a few sips if they need to, but you don't want to stay on having a few sips the whole 2 weeks, right? This is just like emergency plan. And let's see what else. Have plenty of water. We talked about the broth. We talked about the food sensitivities. Briefly about nuts and seeds. You always want to eat nuts and seeds that are fresh and raw, or they can be soaked or sprouted, but they should never be fried or old, and they should always be stored in the fridge or the freezer, usually the fridge, to keep them fresh. If you taste anything rancid about a nut, do not eat it. That's going to add toxins to your body. And here's a little tip that could help you with bowel movements is soak some almonds over the night, rinse them in the morning, and have those sometime in the morning. And I find that, I don't know what happens to the almonds, it's very good for bowel movements. So if you're worried going into this cleanse that you could get constipated, I would do this almond trick, would be a good thing. Okay, a bit more on this document. I kind of talked about modifying which meal you eat. If instead of a shake for dinner, you want a shake and a light dinner, that's okay, or a shake and a snack. There are a few things I'd like you to play around with these 2 weeks. And one is let's look at item 4 here. If you tend to eat like all day long into the night, you may want to play around with that now. So there's done a lot of research, and I linked to some of it here. I actually linked to an interview with the big researcher I did, that it's really when we eat that's more important almost than what we eat. So in the nighttime, the body isn't meant to be digesting. That system is turned off and it's working on other things. So when we do eat, it doesn't digest well. I'm kind of simplifying it, but then we can gain weight or not feel well. So a 12-hour window is kind of like the minimum for what they call time-restricted eating. So if you are a late night eater or whatever, you might want to think about stopping at 7 p.m. You can play with it a bit. Like you could do, I think 7 is kind of late enough, but you could do like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., something like that. But you don't want to go too late. And the shorter you can make that window, the better for weight loss and detox. So let's say you start out 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and then maybe you experiment later with 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's kind of, for me, easier to eat late than to not have dinner. But some people do the opposite. I have some friends who like stop eating at like lunchtime. I think I cannot do that. I can't stop eating at lunchtime. But the idea is, yeah, you shorten that window. Don't shorten it so much that you're not feeling well, because you're already doing a cleanse. You might feel a little faint sometimes. That's just because your body's working hard to detox. But just play around with this idea, this time-restricted eating. And then snacking. So, you may feel hungrier initially, again, because your body's detoxing. It's in a different mode. So I would say go ahead and snack as desired the first few days. But then as you adjust, try not to snack too often. Try to give your body some breaks, again, so that the digestive system can have a rest in between eating. And you can still drink water or whatever, but just try to give your body a little rest. And then a bit about weight loss. I don't know everybody on this cleanse what their goals are. Often people want to lose a little weight, and how the body responds can be different for different people. Actually, I have this in point too. Some people do great when they restrict calories, and we're going to be supporting our liver, which can support weight loss. Some people I read about say, oh, it doesn't work for me to restrict calories. It doesn't work for me to fast. I think eventually it would work for you. But I believe them. I believe it's not happening. I think it could be stress. If you have stress, that's going to interfere with weight loss, something like that. But for me, caloric restriction does seem to help me lose weight. If you are already thin, you might not really want to lose weight. But I think it's okay to maybe lose a couple pounds in this cleanse, because your fat holds toxins. And if you're here to detox and you can afford to, even lose like 2 pounds, like it's okay. This is my first time doing this cleanse with this company, because I wanted to do this shorter cleanse. So I'm not sure what everyone's results will be. But I think, if you're cutting out empty calories from, wine and bread and whatnot, you're likely going to lose weight. And if you're not hitting the amount you wanted in 2 weeks, I would say keep some of those things out and just do a modified, healthy version as you move back into normal time, so to speak. Oops. Somebody... Hold on, I'll go to the chat in a second there. It's possible that if you lose a lot of weight, you could feel worse because of toxins coming out. I doubt you're going to lose a lot of weight in 2 weeks, but just keep that in mind. If you're losing weight too quickly, you could have some detox kind of die-off reactions that hopefully are mitigated by all the supplements you're taking. But I would say if you feel like too much is happening too quickly, have some more calories. Take a bath, kind of let your body rest. And then lastly, I have a couple recipes here for kind of souped up shakes. And then I have some other resources about nuts and seeds and recipes. I think like at least one of these recipes is not cleanse friendly, but I just shared it as resources that you could have. So I have 2 shakes here. They're both like super, super good. And then I'm developing 1 or 2 more to add on there. Okay, I see some notes in the chat, so let me... Okay, Whitney's going in the car. I don't think we have too much more to talk about, you guys. This is like super easy. I'm glad that their book is really good. Again, I would say start shopping this weekend. Have some quiet time at the end of the day to read this book, like cover to cover, and really get to know it. There's some recipe suggestions in here that are great. There's some like lifestyle suggestions on things like dry brushing, I think. Well, they have Epsom salt bath. Do they have dry brushing in here? They do. Okay. I could share a link too for my dry brushing video. It's a nice adjunct for while you're doing a cleanse, as is an Epsom salt bath or a sauna. What else can I tell you about? I think that's mostly it. People usually ask me little questions like, can I have ketchup or can I have this or that? You want to avoid things that are too processed, but like if you're dying to have a little mustard or whatever, it's not going to kill you. So that's okay. A couple people, I think in the group, have a vegan version of the cleanse. So the booklet may suggest an all vegan diet. So just ignore what I said about meat for you guys. Yeah, and there's some recipe ideas here. So if you're kind of a person who needs guidance, use the recipes. And then if you're like, I got the idea, I know what I'm supposed to eat or not eat, then just go with your own cooking skills. And you can look up other recipes too if you like online. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, exercising. Yeah, I mean, mostly you should be able to exercise. I don't consider this the most severe of a cleanse, especially if you have the thicker, heartier shakes. But there could be some days that you feel kind of faint or tired, and you may just want to take a walk or skip the exercise. Remember, it's only 2 weeks, so it's like okay if you skip a few workouts in 2 weeks because your body's working like really, really hard. It actually burns extra calories just to do this detoxing. So yeah. All right, I think that's about it, guys. You can also, reply to my email if you have questions that come up. I'll try to be really responsive. It's Bridget@bridgetdanner.com. And we'll try to get back to you right away. We'll have another meeting the same time next week. So we'll probably talk a little bit more that week about reactions you're having and things you're actually experiencing. And then on the third call, we'll talk about kind of moving on as you come off the cleanse, how to approach that, how to reach some of your health goals. It's only 2 weeks long. You're not going to reach every health goal in 2 weeks, but you're going to get pushed along on that health goal for sure. I always hear good results, like I said. And yeah, if there's some other pieces you want to follow up on after the cleanse, we can talk about that in the group or talk privately. All right, Whitney, I think you might be driving. Do you have any questions? If you have any, Whitney, before I close up.
My main question, last time I did one of these, like day 6 in, I felt like I had the flu, and I never knew if that was, I didn't have a person, I was just doing it off the website. Is that part of the detox? Like, I was in an exercise class and I had to go home and I felt terrible for a couple hours.
Yeah, that was probably, by that far into the cleanse, you're really starting to dump some toxins and maybe, burn some fat. So yeah. So, you did the right thing to just rest. Is that guaranteed to happen? No, I think it just depends. Like, I've done a number of these and every time seems to be a bit different. I think if you eat more calories, that tends to not happen as much, if that's something you want to avoid.
Yeah, no, this book looks much better. There's actual food. It's like, okay, we can do this.
Right? Yeah, you can even eat, to be completely honest, when I first did one of these, I was like an eater. I was like, I don't know, I have a good metabolism for my size. I would eat all the time. I would eat all day long. And I was on the cleanse, still eating a ton of calories. And I felt like, oh, I'm like starving here. So I've kind of my body's adjusted over time to less food and kind of I'm more adaptable now. But in the beginning I wasn't. I needed to eat a lot and I still was detoxing, but I didn't get a lot of reactions. So I guess I can say I don't anticipate it a lot, but yeah, as you burn some fat and release more toxins, you could have a reaction. If it's too much, rest, eat more food, and maybe even if it's really bad, take out 1 shake and 1 supplement packet, something like that. If it's really bad, there's no crime in slowing things down because basically things are just happening too quickly. There's too much coming out. Yeah. The body can't keep up. But there's a ton of liver support in this cleanse. Basically phase 1 detox, phase 2 it's a lot of support. So it could be hopefully it's enough for everyone, but there could be a tipping point where there's too many toxins coming out. It's too
Well, it revealed what a sugar addict I am. And then I, of course, fell back into my old ways. That's why I want to do another one. But I think that was it too. My body's like, "Where's my sugar?" It was real weird.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to feel bad, but also kind of be patient that your body's in a new mode and it is to your benefit ultimately.
Yeah.
So adjust it, but yeah, be easy on yourself. But I was going to share a story. A friend of mine does a cleanse. It's no pills or powders. It's it's vegetarian, like low calorie cleanse. And I think same as you, like day 5, I just was like migraine all day, like so
Oh,
weak.
yeah.
I was just like, this is too much. I'm eating some chicken. Like this is,
Right,
you know.
right, right.
So I try to pick cleanses that are pretty moderate because I just think nobody's gonna like stay on something like that.
No, no, I went off it. I said, I can't feel like this and have 3 kids and a job, and no, thank you. Yeah. So,
No,
yeah.
no, yeah, I
So
think
I
it'll
think
be
having
pretty
a little bit
good.
of food is a good idea.
Yeah, I
Oh,
mean,
I'm
if you,
excited. This is
yeah,
great.
I'm glad you're excited. Yeah, if you eat basically like a clean, healthy diet and get in your 2 shakes and supplements, like that still counts, you know. So don't, you know. And if you're like, oh, I'm feeling good, maybe I'll skip. You know, I'll try not to not snack as much or skip dinner. Then you can try that also.
Right. Awesome. Thanks,
Cool.
Bridget.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So I wasn't just talking to myself. Very
You did
nice.
great. Very clear. I think this is going to be great.
Okay, good, good. Okay, yeah, everybody reach out and I will send a follow-up email tomorrow with these little extra instructions and I will add on that dry brushing tip if anybody wants to try that out. Okay, bye everybody.
Awesome.
Thank you. Bye, Whitney.
Thank you. Bye.